Do you ever give up on searching for timing or physical tells with a player you've just played with for long enough and you feel like this person just a secure enough player that I can
Yes.
kind of not read much into it?
Yes. I think that is one of the most useful things that you can do. And actually, I won't mention any names, although it's not just, I kind of don't want to, not because it's particularly a secret, because I've actually talked to these players about this exact thing, even though it's about them. There's several players that I find to actually be quite expressive, but it is, at least for me, of course, the way you vibe with someone could impact this, or the way you perceive things. But at least for me, it is very hard to correlate their behaviors or expression to anything specific. Their thoughts are so nuanced, and you don't know what causes them anxiety or stress or comfort. And they are thinking about so many things, and also quite expressive at the same time, but you don't know what the expression correlates to because they have so many thoughts going on at the same time. The worst thing that you could do is draw false conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I've identified players like that, I've just kind of decided the best thing to do is to not pursue this and spend the energy elsewhere. So you're talking about the actual decision point in the future hand where you're implementing a read or the lack thereof, or this kind of shitty read that you have on someone. And there is certainly that cost, because if you're spending 25 seconds out of your 30 trying to think about what someone's eyebrow did during XYZ spot,
Yeah.
You're not even thinking about what the proper bet size is theoretically for this spot. There is that loss of EV. If someone is really difficult to get a hold of in terms of getting a read on them, pick someone else. Yeah, there's like 100 unique players. You're not going to go through all of them. If someone's giving you difficulty, move on to someone else that you play a lot with. And that's kind of what I meant by spend your energy elsewhere. You want to devote time to gaining live reads, fine, but at least get the low-hanging fruit first.
When you're coaching, where do you tend to tell people to start not trusting chip EV sims so much and start essentially not playing straight up for chips? And how does that kind of slope just get more and more extreme?
It really does depend on the student. So we were talking earlier about getting an honest sense of what their goals and objectives are, and also their current understanding. And at one end of the extreme, let's say you have someone that says, you know, I play recreationally, not that much. I don't want to devote that much time for studying. Just give me some kind of basic pointers so that I punt a little bit less. I'm fine still kind of losing a little bit. I just want to not lose as much. Then I'll kind of go, you know what, play chip EV up until there's about half the field to a third of the field remaining. And then, ICM pressure gets pretty extreme near the bubble. And then once the bubble bursts, until the last few tables, just go back to playing chip EV. And then it gradually increases towards the final table bubble, and then up until your heads up. And the answer will range from that end of the extremes to what the answer actually is, which is it's nuanced and complicated, and there's never in a tournament 0 ICM, right? Like if I gave anyone the option to pay 2x the buy-in for 2x starting stack, unless it's a particularly, unless they're you, or it's a particularly soft tournament, even intuitively, they understand that they shouldn't do that. So intuitively, they understand that there is some ICM right from the get-go. And then I try to stress to people that it's the concept of ICM is very fluid. It's on a continuum. It's never black and white. And that is something that I try to stress with the more advanced students. If you cover someone on the bubble, it matters more how much you cover them by rather than the fact that you just cover them. It is somewhat difficult to get these sort of advanced and nuanced and fluid concepts across because people like to hear very black and white rules. Like when you're in situation A, then B applies, and when you're in situation C, then D applies.
How do you kind of take that into account when you're thinking about building someone up as a poker player?
If you take a particular, not node, but a particular set of game conditions, and you kind of multiply the frequency with which you are in that game state or those game conditions times the average mistake that you're likely to make, that gives you a pretty good idea of what you should focus on. And so the reason that you should, I think, focus on both kind of early to mid stage, basic-ish pre-flop or post-flop mechanics and also final table ICM is not because it's just good to learn everything. It's because the mistakes that you can make early on in a tournament are very small, but you're always playing early in a tournament. It's always on you to act first when you're under the gun. So the frequency is quite high, even though the average mistake that you can make is quite low. Once you get to the final table, the frequency with which you even have an opportunity to make a mistake is very, very small, but you can make a rather large mistake. So kind of multiplying frequency times mistake gives you an idea of what you should be working on. And I think generally it leads to you wanting to focus final table or kind of like mid stages. And then maybe there's like another little blip around when the bubble takes place. And then there's like another complexity layer, which is what you mentioned. You want people to have ability to execute and be confident in the decisions that they're making. If someone's really feeling uncomfortable playing mid-stage chip EV for whatever reason, then maybe focus on that a little bit more than you would optimally if you're just doing kind of the cost of mistake frequency analysis.